Safeness. Once again, welcome to our daily press briefing. I'm Sharon Leah Sang, Director of Public Affairs, Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. On my left is Sergeant Wayne Meister, Public Information Officer. In the Port of Spain Division, around 11:10 p.m. on the 11th of November 2011, officers of the Port of Spain Task Force under the supervision of Sergeant Bruno were on exercise in the Laventille district along La Pompe Road when they observed a man standing at the side of a motor vehicle which was parked on the said street, holding an object resembling a firearm in his right hand. The man looked in the direction of the police vehicle and threw the object under the motor vehicle. The officers retrieved the said object and found it to be a black and silver Beretta 9mm pistol containing 8 rounds of ammunition. As a result, the man, aged 29 years, of Pelican Extension Mover, was arrested and taken to the Besson Street Police Station, where he was charged for the offenses of possession of a firearm and ammunition. Also in Port of Spain, between the hours of 2:45 p.m. and 7:10 p.m. on Friday, 11th November, officers of the task force under the supervision of Acting Corporal Modest assisted the Besson Street CID in conducting a road block exercise in the Port of Spain district. The exercise was spearheaded by ASP Grant of the Besson Street CID. A total of 19 persons were arrested for possession of marijuana, which weighed a total of 306 grams. 4 illegal immigrants. 5 illegal immigrants were arrested, 3 Guyanese, ages ranging from 26 years to 49, and 1 44-year-old man from Ghana. So it's actually 4 illegal immigrants. 1 person was arrested on an outstanding warrant, and 11 persons were also arrested on inquiries. 1 motor vehicle was seized pending further inquiries, and a total of 16 fixed penalty notices were also issued. The said roadblock was conducted incident-free. In Central Division, we have a robbery with violence. Around 1:30 a.m. on the 14th November, a 70-year-old retired insurance agent and his 61-year-old wife of 5th Street, Monroe Chagonas, reported that they were asleep at their home when they were awakened by 2 men who were armed with firearms. The men announced a holdup and demanded money and jewelry. The couple were then robbed of a quantity of money and jewelry, value to be ascertained. Before the suspects left, they aimed the firearm at the retiree and shot him in his upper left leg. The victim was taken to the Mount Hope General Hospital for medical treatment. Both men were dressed in black clothing and one with a bandana handkerchief over his face. A crime scene expert and police photographer processed the scene, and Corporal Nelson is continuing inquiries. In St. Joseph, around 9:30 p.m. on November 13th, a 19-year-old female who resides at Arouca reported to the Arouca police station that she was with a group of friends at Macarite Beach when she was approached by a man whom she knows and who resides at Clifford Street in Kirep. An argument ensued, then he dealt her several blows about her body and forced her into his vehicle, took her to his home where he had sexual intercourse with her against her will. He then beat her about the body and placed her into his vehicle and dropped her home. The police are continuing inquiries into that report. In Valencia District, there was an exercise conducted between the hours of 4 a.m. and 9 a.m. on November 14th, coordinated by Acting ASP Sankar and supervised by Inspector Worrell and Sergeant Dude High. The officers included officers from the Eastern Division Task Force, areas north and south, and the CID. A number of houses were searched, which led to the arrest of 15 persons. Also, 500 grams of marijuana was found, along with 1 homemade shotgun. 1 person is expected to be charged for the offense of the possession of a firearm. We now open the floor for any questions that you may have. Please use the mic.
Hello? Okay. Hi, good morning. In light of yet another police shooting over the weekend, Can you give me the state of the investigation into that matter? Have the police in question been questioned, suspended? What is the state of that investigation right now?
Okay, investigations, of course, the police commissioner launched a full-scale investigation into this matter. And presently, nobody, of course, will be permitted to say if anybody or any police officer is charged. We cannot say that until the completion of the investigation.
What is the standard procedure once an officer discharges his weapon and kills somebody, whether innocent, guilty, whatever? What is the standard procedure? Is that officer automatically suspended? Do they continue to work as normal? What is the standard procedure in that case?
Well, of course, the first thing that will be done, an investigator, senior officer, will be assigned to the investigation. And the senior officer will investigate the matter. And of course, they will submit a file relative to after the investigation, and certain instructions will be given to them.
And this was done in this case.
Well, that is happening right now.
See, there are various forms of that the investigation takes. All right, there's the investigation of the alleged robbery. There's the investigation of the incident of the shooting which resulted from the alleged robbery. And then, of course, there's also the investigation which looks at to determine whether the procedures were followed in terms of policies, in terms of what we're supposed to do, what we do. So there are various stages. When we say investigation, it's just not one thing. There's several aspects that must be done in order to ascertain what took place.
Well, it's the final question on this matter. In terms of the original robbery, have the victims of that original robbery come forward and been identified and said that maybe the objects found on the men were actually theirs? Have those victims of that robbery come forward and said anything?
What I could say on that is that we have victims of the robberies in connection to that said robbery, and they are assisting police right now in the investigation. So victims came forward and gave statements.
So, in light of this, are the men who are in custody, are they likely to face charges anytime soon with regard to that robbery?
What investigations are going on into that? I mean, I think one of them is, one of the victims is in the hospital.
Yeah, one is hospitalized.
Hospitalized. The other two are at the station assisting police with inquiries. So we can't say what should we term them or classify them as what, but they are.
Yeah. And of course, these men will be placed on an identification parade. That will assist a lot in the investigation.
Additionally, there was some ambiguity with regard to reports that came out of the initial robbery. There was claims that the cars that the officers chased were initially stolen. However, the relatives of the victims claimed that there were insurance documents, indeed, in the names of the victims, well, the deceased and the people who were arrested in relation to the robbery. Can you confirm if those vehicles indeed belong to the people in custody?
We cannot confirm that right now, but however, we are asking for persons who have the necessary information, any kind of information at all, to come forward to assist the police in their inquiries.
On Friday, Selwyn Alexis was freed. Once again, this has shown that it raises questions about the amount of investigation that is done before arrests are made under the Anti-Gang Act. Are police officers being properly informed about the use of the act? Or is there any different method that is being suggested to the police officers?
The TTPS and the officers work very closely with the DPP to ensure that whatever comes to matters that are brought to court are brought to in a way that will ensure a conviction. But at the end of the day, there are always a number of instances of extenuating circumstances that may force a case to go a particular way. I wasn't in the court. I don't know what has taken place. I'm not even certain under what where he was charged. I don't know if it's under the SOE, if it's anti-gang. I'm not too certain, so it would be remiss of me to even comment. What I'm saying is that there's ongoing collaboration between the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution and also the TTPS because we work together to ensure convictions.
And if you could recall to that is on a whole matter that he was charged with. So the connection with the anti-gang, we cannot comment on that.
Sorry, just a follow-up question. I'm just popped into my head. The Minister of National Security he seemingly justified the actions of the police officers on Saturday by saying, do you say that they shouldn't defend themselves when attacked, basically? Is it the police's MO to, when being shot, shoot back to kill or shoot back to wound and then possibly arrest? What is I guess that MO when being shot at? In other words, would you justify the behavior, the actions of the police that day?
Well, first of all, we weren't there when the Minister of National Security made the statement, and we weren't aware of the context of which he was speaking with, and we would not comment on what the Minister of National Security says. Secondly, our mandate is very clear in terms of our responsibility to maintain law and order, to preserve peace, and protect life and property. So, I mean, we are very clear in our mind what we're supposed to be doing. But just now. But in terms of this incident, as I said, that the investigation is being conducted to determine whether the procedures that are enshrined in our departmental orders were followed. That's what we have to do. We have to go through the incident in every aspect of it to determine what took place, to find out what took place was supposed to have taken place, and therefore we'll be able to make some sort of determination. I'll bring that for you tomorrow.
And another question: I believe the deadline for the PSC, they had asked the Police Service Commission had asked about the information for Mr. Warner. I believe that deadline is either today or tomorrow. Has that been done? Will that be done?
Well, that will be office coming out of the Office of the Commissioner, so we'll have to determine whether or not the letter was received and if an appropriate response has been given within the time frame. I said that if the letter has been received, and if it has, whether an appropriate response would have been submitted within the appropriate time frame. I'm not too certain. I can't say. My office is not upstairs.
You already said you confirmed that letter was received a couple weeks ago. That's why we're just asking for the follow-up now.
Okay.
Having received the letter, the response.
As I said, I will have to speak to the Office of the Commissioner to find out exactly where it has reached in terms of the response. We can't say.
So by tomorrow, you will.
Well, I'm hoping. I'm not too certain what's going to happen when I speak to the Office of the Commissioner.
Going back to the situation at McRae, and I asked this question, I think it was last week or week before. Has the police identified or sought to identify a connection between the increase in rapes and the state of emergency? I think it was 2 weeks ago. Has the police seen an increase in rapes or reported rapes, sexual offenses? Okay.
Well, according to our crime and problem analysis information, we have not seen that. We have not seen, in fact, I think there's an actual decrease in the number of sexual offenses over the period of the state of emergency.
There was also an increase in murders, definitely, this over the weekend, and this would have been the first weekend that the curfew was lifted. Also an increase in traffic offenses. Not traffic offenses, pardon me. Traffic accidents, a lot of fatal accidents happened, over the weekend too. Any thoughts, any comments on what we've seen over this past weekend, the first weekend that the curfew was lifted?
Well, every Friday I appeal to the motoring community and remind them about paying particular attention to the regulations which govern the usage of the roadways every Friday. I think we even begin on Thursday, and we can only hope and pray and be vigilant on how we police the roads, because at the end of the day, the public has to take responsibility for their driving habits. The police can be there, the police are there on the roadway, but at the end of the day, it is within each of our power in order to ensure there's no traffic fatalities. I always say this every Friday: if you have to drink, don't drive. it is incumbent upon us to take responsibility for our actions.
And also in view of that, we'd also like to remind pedestrians, who like to use the highway to cross when there's, walkovers, so they could use the walkovers. Because you saw Friday night, we had a pedestrian lost his leg trying to cross the highway. So we are urging pedestrians to please make use of the walkovers that are placed strategically on the highways.
And the other thing you asked about whether we're seeing an increase in things. Since the ending of the curfew, there have been a number of incidents that have serious reported incidents that have taken place. But overall, for the period, we are still seeing a marked decrease in the number of homicides for the period.
Is it a cause for concern now that you're seeing? Is it a cause for concern now that you're seeing everything just seems to go back to the way it was post August 21st?
We will never go back to the pre-SOE. We will never go back to that. It's always concern when people are dying, whether it's on the roadway, whether it's in their communities, whether it's in their homes. It's very concerning. And the police, as I said, has increased its vigilance. We are working closely with the other arms of the protective services to be out there in numbers to ensure that we do not have that repeat again. We're doing everything within our powers, and we also urge the public that if you have any information, to please call those numbers. And I call them out every single day, but I'll call them out again. 800-0699, 800-0700, 800-8833, 555, and 800-TIPS. Because we want to let you know that we depend on information that you can provide to us that will help us in our inquiries and in our investigations. I think there's one other update we'd like to give. It concerns the officer from the Four Roads incident who lost his life on the roadway.
Yeah, another question was asked last week. Police Constable Maynard, who died as a result of that road traffic accident. At present, we are waiting for a statement from a key independent witness. That statement is pending right now. However, that statement should be recorded today, and by tomorrow, that file will be submitted to the Director of Public Prosecutions for instructions pertaining to that matter.
And what about the status of investigation into the incident involving Ms. Joan Webb, who was killed during a police and civilian accident last Tuesday or something like that?
That investigation is ongoing.
That one is still
Who's
going.
the lead investigator?
I can't give you that name.
Why?
Well, because that's information that I'm not willing to give you.
Not willing, but you can't give. There's no procedure that is barring you from giving that information. That's what I'm clarifying.
Is there a procedure that bars me from giving the name of the investigator?
Yes.
No, I just decided I won't give you the information. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your questions.
Good morning.
Morning,
A lot of
Camille.
officers feel despondent after some officers 2 weeks ago. Hello? Right. Okay. Some officers feel despondent after other officers were charged with murder in the Muruga shootings. And some of them feel that if they keep on going out, they're going to get charged with different things for doing their jobs. What is it the service has to say about that with the feelings of other officers involved?
The TTPS has, like any organizations, we have departmental orders. We're governed by the laws of Trinidad and Tobago, and we must adhere to those laws. We have a duty and a responsibility, not only to the organizations, but to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. The commissioner and the executive of the police service, TTPS, is clear in their mind. They are quite clear that no officer who moves outside of his authority we cannot allow things like that to happen. There's an investigation. The investigation was conducted. Steps are taken from the outcome of that investigation. We have to adhere to the rule of law. The matter is now before the court, and we await the outcome.
Going back to Ms. Joan Webb again, the police officers involved, have any statements been taken from them?
All that is part of the investigation.
just gave us some information regarding PC Maynard, independent witness supposed to give testimony, well, evidence, sorry, give a statement today and go to the DPP. That is also part of investigation, and you
Yes,
divulge
all-
that information.
All that is part of, well, because remember last week you all asked about it, we had to make some inquiries. The investigation into the incident involving Mrs. Webb, that is also an investigation. There's a process that must be taken. There are a number of things that must be examined very closely. It's a loss of a life. It involves police officers. So therefore, we must go through each detail to ensure that the truth is unearthed. We have a responsibility not only to the service, but also to the family.
Okay, what I'm trying to get at is what stage of the investigation have you all reached? Have you reached the speaking with people stage? Have you reached with the police officers giving a statement stage? Have you reached with checking the surveillance stage? What stage in the investigation have you all reached?
I will have to find out, and I will get back with that information for you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank
One
you.
more question.
Excuse. Good morning. You seem quite certain and emphatic in stating that we will never go back to the pre-curfew and SOE levels of crime. If you could perhaps share some of the steps that have been taken, or what informs that position on the part of the police.
Well, over the period of the state of emergency, the TTPS has been working, as I said, with a number of its partners in law enforcement. We have been able to dismantle a number of the activities of a number of those gangs, those persons who are been carrying out their various activities. We've gained a great deal of intelligence that will actually help us in order to move forward. So therefore, having gained the intelligence and some additional information, we have additional manpower on the ground. And there are some persons who we're paying close attention to. So the situation that which prevailed before the state of emergency is not going to be allowed to. The commissioner and the other head of the protective services have been meeting regularly and have developed a comprehensive plan to ensure that we are leveraging in terms of our fight forward to rid the country of crime. So there's a lot of activities that are taking place behind the scenes, although a lot of it we can't really speak about because, of course, it's a matter, I hate to say it, of national security, but we really can't. But the fact is that they have been working very closely. There's a lot of more collaboration that is taking place within the protective services. So in this regard, we are certain that we will not see a repeat of what was taking place before the state of emergency.
Okay, taking that into consideration, we were told previously that certain plans would be put in place that when the state of emergency ended, that we would not see an immediate spike of crime. But given that this first weekend without the curfew, that we have seen a certain increase, is it that the police were caught by surprise, or the plans are not in place as yet?
The police weren't caught by surprise. Actually, for example, what took place in Central, officers were on patrol, and that's why they were able to respond so quickly to the incident. So we were on patrol, received information, and we were able to respond quickly. So therefore, we're not sleeping on the job. We're out there doing what we need to do. But the persons who may have leave their home, who may have a girlfriend, who decided they're going to go and do something illegal, if those persons who are friends with these people or who have information, if they would call any one of our numbers, we'd be able to preempt some of these activities. Because at the end of the day, it is a fight that we intend to win. There is absolutely no way that we are going to allow crime to take hold of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your question. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow.
Curbing crime so that we would not see the pre-SOE situation take place. Could you give us an example of some of those collaborations, please? Is it with the police and other governmental agencies, other ministries who are...
Well, from a policing standpoint, there's collaboration that is taking place between the police and the defense force. From a social services standpoint, there's some work that we are doing in collaboration with the Ministry of National Security in the community. So we have the Hearts and Minds Project. We have a police youth club. We have other activities that are taking place. I can't remember all of them. But in order to deal with the problem of criminality in those communities. What you find happening is that now that there was a lull, a kind of residents were given a chance to take a deep breath in a lot of these communities. So we recognize that we need to go in there and start to repair some of the damages that have been caused by the crime situation, by those residents who have been inflicted or affected by persons who living in their communities who are conducting illegal activities. So we recognize that. We've gone in there. We continue to do that work in those communities. But at the same time, that does not mean that we're not going to be dealing with the policing aspect. So therefore, we're working closely with Customs and Excise. We're working closely with the Coast Guard. We're working closely with the Defense Force. So all of these partners that have formed these strategic alliances during the SOE, because we're moving into the period we're going to come to the end of the SOE, does not mean that those alliances are just going to end. It can't. It won't. So therefore, now we're establishing protocols on which we're going to be moving forward that will enable us to actually make a serious dent in the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago.
Is this a police presence, or are you doing psychological work? Are you doing counseling work in these communities? You're saying people have had a chance to relax and you have gone in. Have you gone in and implemented counseling? Have you gone in and just be present?
No, well, not only counseling is, I mean, some of these communities, some of the young people in those areas, some of them they have experience a sense of hopelessness because they think now crime is probably the only avenue that is open to them. So if now we say to them, well, listen, there are other opportunities. We can help you find a homework center that can help you to do your schoolwork. We have officers who conduct parenting classes to help parents deal with children who give them trouble. We have officers that do small goal in the communities. We have the IAT officers. They bring missionaries into those communities to help provide medical services. So what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, the police really deals with quality of life issues. Sometimes those quality of life issues impacts and spills over and become criminal matters. But at the end of the day, we have to try and work together, not only just the police, but all of the social services and all of the other protective services to really make a positive change in the lives of residents. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we're all going to suffer for it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time today. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock.